The Caller by Karin Fossum. Read by David Rintoul. It's a good thing there are lies. Lord help us if everything that was said were true. Old adage. Chapter 1. The child slept in a pram behind the house. The pram was from Brio, and the child was an 8-month-old girl. She lay under a crocheted blanket, wearing a matching bonnet with a string fastened under her chin. The pram sat under the shade of a maple tree. Behind the tree, the forest stood like a black wall. The mother was in the kitchen. She couldn't see the pram through the window, but she wasn't concerned about her sleeping baby, not for an instant. Pottering about, thoroughly content, she was light as a ballerina on her feet, not a single worry in her heart. She had everything a woman could dream of. Beauty, health, and love, a husband, a child, and a home and garden with rhododendrons and lush flowers. She held life in the palm of her hand. She looked at the 3 photographs hanging on the kitchen wall. In one photograph, taken under the maple, she wore a flowery dress. In another, her husband, Karsten, was on the front porch. The last was a photograph of her and Karsten together on the sofa, the child between them. The girl's name was Margrietta. The arrangement of the 3 photos made her smile. 1 + 1 is surely 3, she thought. It is truly a miracle. Now she saw that miracle everywhere, in the sunlight cascading through the windows, in the thin white curtains fluttering in the breeze. At the worktop, she energetically kneaded a smooth, lukewarm dough between her fingers. She was making a chicken and chanterelle quiche, while Margrietta slept beneath the maple in her little bonnet, she, too, smooth and warm under the blanket. Her little heart pumped a modest amount of blood, and it coloured her cheeks pink. Her scent was a mixture of sour milk and soap. The blanket and bonnet had been crocheted by her French grandmother. She slept heavily and with open hands, as only a baby can. Lily rolled the dough on a marble slate. As she swung the rolling pin, her body swayed and her skirt billowed around her legs, like a dance by the worktop. It was summer and warm, and she was bare-legged. She set the pastry in a pie dish, poked it with a fork and trimmed the edges. Then she put a roast chicken on the chopping board. Poor little thing, she thought, and tore its thighs off. She liked the cracking sound the cartilage made when tearing from the bone. Light and tender, the meat let go easily, and she succumbed to the temptation to stick a piece in her mouth. It's good, she thought. It has just enough seasoning, and it's lean, too. She filled the pie dish and sprinkled on cheddar cheese. Then she checked the time. She didn't worry about Margrietta. If the child sneezed, she would know it immediately. If she coughed or hiccuped or began to cry, she would know. Because there was a bond between them, a bond as thick as a mooring line. Even the slightest tug would reach her like a vibration. Margrietta's in my head, she thought, in my blood and in my fingers. Margrietta's in my heart. If anyone were to harm her, I would know. Or so she thought. She went about her business calmly, but at the back of the house, someone crept out of the dense forest, and in one bound reached the pram. He pushed the crocheted blanket to the side, and Lily didn't feel anything at all. The quiche began to turn golden. The cheese had melted and bubbled like lava. She glanced out the window and saw Karsten as he pulled into the driveway in his red Honda SUV. The table was set, the china old and dignified, in each glass a white napkin opened like a fan. She switched on the lights, stepped back and tilted her head, evaluating the result. She hoped her husband would see that she'd gone out of her way, that she always went out of her way. She smoothed her skirt and ran her hands through her hair. Other couples fight, she thought. Other couples divorce. But that won't happen to us. We know better. We understand that love is a plant that requires tender care. Some people spread all this rubbish about being blinded by love, but she'd never understood as much as she did now, had never had this insight, had never had such clarity of vision or such
Sample complete. Ready to continue?